Hello, hello, hello. We are live. Welcome, 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 everyone, to What Would Dorcy Do? It is Friday afternoon, and I'm excited to be bringing you some building on information, if you will, from our last What Would Dorcy Do? If this is your first What Would Dorcy Do, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. What Would Dorcy Do is a live that I do on Fridays generally to talk about the family dynamic of parental alienation, which is I'll talk about that in a minute, and strategies and tips and tools and things that you can do to really shift your family from divided to united. And I've been in this space since 2006, and I'm excited to be bringing our latest and greatest, if you will, of reunification tools, tips and tools, and things that you can do to really recover your alienated children and restore your unbreakable bond. So I'm excited to have you here. Today, we are going to be diving into really looking at breaking the silence. So if you're an alienated parent and you long to rebuild your relationship with your child, or you feel like maybe there's been no hope for reconciliation and you felt like giving up, this What Would Dorcy Do? This webinar is really about breaking the silence and strategies for really rebuilding relationships with your alienated children. And as a reunification coach, we get ordered all over the world to come in and court ordered all over the world to come in and restore family bonds. And as someone who's successfully reunited parents and their children all over the world, and as a formerly alienated child myself, I know a few things about what works and what does not work. And in this What Would Dorcy Do? I'm going to guide you through some practical steps and tools to really help you reconnect with your child and really heal the rift in your relationship. So, breaking the silence, today's lesson is really about building strategies for those of you who maybe have lost contact, maybe have zero contact, and maybe those of you who've been communicating with your children and you just stopped communicating because you weren't getting any response, but maybe you're ready to reach out again. A lot of parents come into our group, the Alliance to Solve Parental Alienation, and are sometimes years, decades, alienated from their kids and are looking for support. And one of the things for those of you who may be watching this on our YouTube channel or somewhere live, and you don't know what alienation is, parental alienation is when one parent tries to turn the child against the other parent by negatively influencing the child's opinion and behaviors about the other parent or keeping the child away from them. And this can make the child feel confused, scared, uncomfortable, and oftentimes, if there's narcissistic parenting, then elevates the child in the family hierarchy where they then pass judgment on a normal range parent. And it's actually a form of child psychological abuse. So when the parents get separated or divorced, it's important for both parents to have a relationship with their child. And if the one parent is kept away from the other parent by the other parent telling lies, not just to the children, but maybe to all the professionals in the case, you can create an emotional cutoff between a parent and a child. And this causes the child emotional, psychological harm. And in layman's terms, we call it parental alienation. And the professional community should be calling it child psychological abuse and looking at the symptomology in the child, but oftentimes that doesn't happen. And there's a lot of fighting about the terminology of parental alienation. I'm going to use the term here as layman terms of parental alienation, and I've defined it for you so you understand that it's the influence of one parent over the children, coercively controlling the children, psychologically abusing the children to damage the relationship they have with the other parent. And it varies along a spectrum of anything from making the relationship challenging, which is still the child is experiencing an emotional cutoff. They may still be going on their parenting time, but they're nasty and mean to the recipient parent, the targeted parent. And it could be a full emotional cutoff where the child is not showing up at all. They're not going on the parenting time. And it's a misnomer that the pathology doesn't exist if the child is still going back and forth. It's also a misnomer that if the child says, well, I still love that parent, I just don't want to spend time with them, that doesn't have the potential or the ingredients of the pathology of psychological abuse. So we have to look at the fingerprinting of the pathology on the child. When we start to get in the entanglement of bad mouthing and Richard Gardner's 8 ingredients or things of that nature, then we move out of what is a diagnosable pathology. So we want to make sure that we stay focused on what is actually a diagnosable pathology. In the end, what I'm talking about today is if you're experiencing an emotional cutoff with your child, so you are not having any communication with your child, or you're having minimal communication with your child, but it's nasty, right? The responses are nasty, they're mean, disrespectful, rude, maybe they're telling you never contact me again, all of these things. So children need love and support from both of their parents, even if they aren't together anymore. And if one parent tries to erase the other parent out of their lives, this can cause long-term damage to the child's mental health and well-being. And then also, if we look at the ACEs study, it can lead into other physical ailments as well. It's never okay for anyone to try to manipulate someone else's feelings towards their parent or even another person, especially when the child has a loving and healthy relationship with mom and dad. So alienation can be extremely hurtful for children as they begin to feel like they have no control over who they love and how they feel. And so they start to act out. And remember that every family situation is different, but regardless of what happened between the two adults, mom and dad, in the relationship, kids should always come first. And if you ever feel like you're being forced as a child into choosing sides between mom and dad during maybe their separation and divorce, maybe you're a kid watching this, then talk openly with another adult that you trust, because it could be alienation, which is wrong and it's harming you. So kids are half of one side of their family and the other half, the other side of their family. So when kids are encouraged to reject a parent, they're in essence encouraged to reject half of who they are. And a lot of passive aggressive things happen in this family dynamic where kids internalize the negative talk, even if you don't specifically say you can't spend time with the other parent, but the child internalizes any of those things as that something is wrong with them. So it's important to understand that this pathology is out there, that parental alienation in layman's terms is when a child is experiencing an emotional cutoff between a beloved parent and that parent hasn't done anything to raise to a level of a complete cutoff between them and their child. So if that's you, then you know what I'm talking about. If you don't know, and this is the first time you're hearing it, please make sure to check out all the other videos on our YouTube channel and parental alienation. There are a ton of videos there, hundreds of hours of content we've put out about this family dynamic and this subject. Another thing I want to talk about today is self-assessment. So oftentimes, parents come to us and they are in blame of the other parent and they're really stuck and, you know, it's all the other parent's fault and they can't get out of the emotional spin cycle of the victim mindset. And so one of the things that's really critically important as you're watching our videos or anybody's videos or training, you're paid or not, that you understand that you need to self-assess, that you really need to reflect on your own actions that may have contributed to the alienation. And the self-assessment process is really identifying any areas of improvement. If you find yourself saying, I haven't done anything wrong, there's nothing wrong with me, it's the other parent, then you will remain stuck. Now, stick with me here. I'm not blaming you. So if you're going to the place you're blaming me, that's the victim mindset. What I'm trying to help you understand is the place of responsibility. When you flip the coin of blame to responsibility, you can self-assess and say, how can I show up differently, right? How are you looking at yourself and thinking about how you act towards your child? How are you reacting towards what is happening? It's not uncommon, and as a matter of fact, more often than not, targeted parents react poorly to the rejection of them by their child. Shocker, not really. Of course you do. This is normal, right? Most of the time, by the time you discover what parental alienation is, or you're down this path, you're so far down the path that you've reacted poorly, that things have happened and you didn't even realize what was happening in your normal range parenting and communication with your child. Things you were able to say and do and react to were tossed out the window because your parental rug, your opportunity to be the parent, to your child, was pulled out from underneath you. And all of the sudden, things that you were able to do and say in the past, you're no longer able to do and say now. And this is a problem. And most of the time, you don't realize this until you're so far down the path that you try to dial it back, or you're so far down the path that it's being used against you in court. So self-assessment means really looking at yourself and thinking about how you act towards your child. And sometimes we might do things that make our child feel left out or upset. So it's important to reflect on our actions and think about how we can improve them. And so when we self-assess, we actually identify areas where we need to work on being kinder and more inclusive, and at the very least, more communicative with our child in an unconditionally loving way. Communicating with alienated children is not like communicating with your child in a normal situation. And oftentimes we forget this. And so we're acting and reacting in a way as if everything was hunky-dory, and that makes matters worse. So when we try to put ourselves in our child's shoes and we imagine how they might feel and what they might be thinking, then we include them. And this happens a lot in the lives of alienated children, depending on the narrative, which often starts as your mom or your dad don't love you. If they did, they wouldn't have left us. And then there's a lot of narrative that goes around where you invite, maybe through the co-parent who doesn't let the child know, and then you go do things and the child feels excluded from those things. And then there's this miscommunication that happens. Some things escalate to communicating with the child and they tell you to F off, or, they're not coming, or they just don't respond at all. So you go and do things and the child feels stuck, right? Rejected. And the narrative is that you abandon them. And I know that you may be saying right now, well, I didn't abandon my child. Yes, this is happening, but this isn't what I did. And I get that. And I understand alienation. So for those of you that want to tell me about it, I got it. For those of you that may be thinking, this is my situation, probably a lot of you, I get that too. This process of communicating with your kids is about putting on your parental empathy hat. So it's about switching gears and really standing in the shoes of your child. And even if their perception, their understanding, their perspective is skewed, you still want to put yourself in their shoes so you understand why and what it is that they're thinking. The why is where a lot of people get stuck, and it's very easy to be out here instead of turning back in here. So self-assessment is a way to take responsibility for our actions and show up with empathy towards our child. And when we recognize these little shifts, these mistakes, then we can learn from them and we can become better parents for our children. And it takes courage to admit when we've done something inaccurately, but it is an important step in making things right with our kids. So through self-assessment, we can develop a greater sense of self-awareness and a greater level of emotional intelligence. So a self-assessment can really help create a culture of kindness, of inclusivity within your family, and open the door for communication again. Communication, as we look at how we're communicating with alienated children, is different than how we communicate when things are in normal range. So if you've stopped communicating with your child, you're in fact contributing to the alienation, the unspoken message that you don't care enough to stay present for your child. And I know you may not believe this, and that is not what you are thinking, but this is how it is perceived. Communication is an important, critical component of maintaining relationship with your beloved children, even if you're the only one communicating. And when we're communicating with our alienated children and we're kicking the door open again for communication, it's a one-way street of unconditional love, which requires you to put on your Teflon shield, to not take things personally, and to pour into your child unconditional love. And unconditional love is the most beautiful gift that you can give your child. And this means not expecting your child to resolve your emotional turmoil, the emotional upheaval that you're experiencing, the trauma that you're experiencing. These are your experiences, and therefore you to resolve, not your child, even if your child is actively participating in the rejection process right now. So as you're communicating, you need to be communicating in a space of unconditional love for your beloved child. If you are getting some types of responses, then active listening, paying attention to what your child is saying, and responding thoughtfully with empathy is critical. And then there are some components of validation, which involve acknowledging how they're feeling and experiencing without judgment, defensiveness, and criticism. And empathy means putting ourselves in our children's shoes. So parental empathy, putting ourselves in our child's shoes and understanding their perspective. When we do that, we open up a level of awareness that allows us to shift how we're showing up. When we are expressing ourselves using I messages instead of you can really help communicate your own thoughts and feelings without blaming your child, without blaming the other parent. And if you're in any kind of communication and they're starting to respond back and forth, which is starting to happen with some of our clients that are doing communication strategies and working with us, then open-ended questions really encourages more meaningful conversation and not asking for anything. So focusing on positive language and taking a break when the emotions run high, which can prevent arguments from escalating into hurtful words or actions that really damage your relationship further. So cleaning up your side of the aisle, your side of the container, if you will, is a ninja move. That is parental empathy, taking care of you, taking care of your emotions, your hurt, your trauma from what is going on. When you hear me talk about the term the chosen parent, then I'm talking about you if you're the rejected parent, the perceived rejected parent. Your child is choosing you to do this work. Your child is choosing you to go in and heal the family. The child is choosing you to learn the skills so that you can recover the child and recover the child's family. So many people come to the Alliance, they come to our Facebook page, they come in kicking tires. A lot of people come in with very deep wounds of trauma, and I understand, and it really stinks. And I get that this is a very painful process for you, and you're in charge. And so moving forward, it's really important as you're reuniting with your children or wanting to break the silence is having a plan. Reconnecting with your alienated children requires you to have a plan. stay focused on your goal, and that gives you confidence to take proactive action when necessary. Having a well thought out plan really helps you avoid making mistakes that can really further damage your relationship with your child, such as being too pushy or giving them too much space, or not giving them unconditionally loving messages. When you have a clear plan, you're able to communicate more effectively with your child, and you're able to show them you understand their perspective. Understanding it doesn't mean you agree with it, it means you understand it. The plan also ensures that both of you can get on the same page, right? So without a solid strategy in place, it may be difficult to know where to start or what steps you need to take first. So planning ahead allows time for reflection, for considerations of different approaches before taking a full action. And it can also lead to better outcomes with both you and your child. So when you're dealing with alienation, emotions tend to run really high. When we're in an emotional state, it's a chemistry thing. Your body dysregulates, your body floods with cortisol, your problem solving side of your brain is shut off, and you tend to react or not react, which is a reaction, out of a place of hurt and trauma and emotion. And this doesn't solve anything. So having a structured plan, a structured approach, really helps keep things calm and rational during these potentially really tense situations. And so thoughtful reunification starts with a thoughtful reunification plan, which shows the child that they are valuable to you, that they're respected by you, and it provides concrete action towards rebuilding trust between you and your child. You can use a plan when you are in conjoint therapy or reunification therapy, or if you're working with a therapist. So when you're having this detailed strategy, it's essential to have this as part of your demonstrative acts of a commitment towards repairing your relationship with your child while ensuring positive long-term outcomes. So as you are moving forward, I want to just share with you a workshop that we're doing live next month. It's 3 days. It is communication for reunification. It's more specifics around the communication. So today I'm talking about the framework, the things that you need to have in place in order to really recover your beloved child. And a lot of stuff starts with your mindset and then your inner work. And the communication for reunification workshop is only $97. We're doing the first day, which is on November 15th. It'll be 2 hours of me going in a deep dive through the framework and specific examples of the types of communications that we've seen consistently over and over and over again through the years with targeted parents, and then the types of responses that they're getting. And then when we work with our clients, the shift that happens in showing up, implementing what I'm sharing with you today to really move into the space of being that soft place, the chosen parent for your child to land, and get your child to fold back in. So the workshop will teach these specific techniques for reaching out to your child who may be experiencing alienation. You'll create your personalized action plan for reconnecting with your children, and that's tailored to your unique family situation. So on day 2, I'm going to be interviewing or coaching. I'll be role playing with 3 different scenarios. So 3 parents who are enrolled in the class will submit. So you can submit once you enroll, you'll be able to submit your scenario and your communication. And then I'll be role playing with 3 people on the second day. So we'll role play some different scenarios, the common scenarios that we see on the communication and how to shift up differently, show up differently. And you can use these strategies to really overcome the obstacles and rebuild the relationship. So reconnecting with your children can help you understand why communication breaks down, and it can help you understand what's happened and how to prevent it in the future and how to recover your relationship with your child. This workshop, Communication to Reunification, really encourages you to take responsibility for repairing the damaged relationship and showing you how to do so effectively. If you are still stuck in your victim mindset, it's not me, it's the other parent. I don't care if the other parent has done 99% of the problem and you're 1% of the problem. It's never 100%. So while you are a normal range parent and you're listening to this and you're experiencing an emotional cutoff, there are things that you have done the way you've shown up that contribute to the rejection, not because you're asking for it. I'm not blaming you. We just know, we've seen this thousands of times. It's the repeated behavior over and over and over and over and over again. And so in the course, in the live course, which I'll be teaching next month, I will go specifically into actual family situations live on day 2, guiding 3 different parents through the process. And you can come. If you're not selected, you'll still be able to come and watch. We'll select 3 people that have 3 of the most common scenarios that we see. And then on day 3 will be a live Q&A with me, so you can ask me questions and about your specific situation and about the communication to reunification, how it applies to you. So you'll have the framework for building your plan. And again, you can listen, participate, and then some of the benefits of participating in this communication for reunification workshop will include the improved mental health outcomes for both you and your child, improved communication with the mental health providers working with your family. And parents who attend this workshop may find themselves feeling so much more empowered as you develop these new skills and allow yourself to shift in your mindset to be open for a deeper emotional connection with your beloved child. The program offers hope where there was once despair by providing practical solutions designed specifically around your family needs. So for those of you that have already enrolled, hopefully my team has put a link here in the chat. It looks like they have. We're excited to have you join us. I can't go into all the specifics here. I'll be here all day. But the framework I gave you today, we do a deep dive in that, and we really help you focus on shifting how you're showing up. I see some comments here. Carmen, this feels judgmental, not helpful. I'm glad you have all the answers. Listen, you don't have to join. And I hear what you're saying. And when people show up with that perspective, then you stay stuck. So I don't have to have all the answers. If I'm not your person to work with, that's totally fine. You don't have to listen to me. You can listen to whoever you want. I have been doing this since 2006, and I understand this family dynamic, and we've reunited thousands of parents and children. So I don't have to be right, and I'm not trying to be judgmental. I'm trying to help you guys understand that this is what works. If you think something else works, give it a try, right? You can do whatever you want. What I know to be true is whatever you believe to be true is true for you. And this family dynamic is like a mental health suck. It's like a vortex to suck you in and hold you stuck in your victim mindset. And it's intended to do that, right? The pathology infects the brain system of the family. And the goal is to hold you stuck. The goal is to keep you away from your children. And my goal is to help you recover your relationship with your children. I know what works. If you feel like something else works, great. You should do that. No skin off my back, right? People will work with me if this resonates. Like I said, if it doesn't resonate, it's not for everyone. I'm pretty much a straightforward shooter. So if you've watched any of my videos, then you know this is how I roll. There's no reason for me to beat around the bush. It's only beneficial to help you understand what's going on and what's going on for the child, what happens in the family dynamic, and your contribution to it. Nobody's perfect. So I'm not here saying, my God, you have to be a perfect parent. We all know that the court system and the other parent and the child and everybody is holding you to a standard that's really delusional and unrealistic. And there are ways for you to shift how you show up to get your child to fold back in. So if your goal is to recover your relationship with your child, great, we can help you do that. You still have to do the work. I could be here all day telling you these things, showing you, working through this. But if you don't do the internal work, shift how you show up, then it won't matter. It won't matter what happens when your child shows up. It won't matter what happens when you communicate and they respond. Because if you don't believe, right, if you don't believe that you can shift how you show up and you can do the work to recover your child, then you can't. You're just wasting your time. So this isn't for people who believe that the other parent has to change. If that's you, nothing I teach will help you. You will not be able to help the other parent change. Sorry, you just won't. The other parent is, if you're dealing with child psychological abuse, you're dealing with an emotional cutoff where the child is cut off from you, then you are in a battle with somebody who is personality disordered, right? Somebody with narcissistic borderline personality disorder, or in some cases, a dark triad. We deal with people in levels of personality disorder that, some of the most disgusting things you could ever imagine. And yet the parents that we work with that are willing to step in and do the work recover their children, even co-parenting with a dark triad. So a dark triad is 3 parts of the worst parts of the cluster B personality disorders. They're not fun, but they're present. So yeah, this family dynamic is really challenging. I've been alienated for a few years, truly awful situation, but now very close to 4 kids. Yay, system in UK, a joke. Totally true. We have lots of clients in the UK. My health suffered greatly, but I came back to unite us once again. Congratulations, Jamie, or Jeff, Jamie Jeff. I know that's your username, but congratulations. That's amazing. Of course, your health suffered, right? Because we internalize what's happening. And that's the ACEs study, right? The psychological emotional abuse. This is a form of intimate partner violence. It's a form of domestic violence. And we get off the path by arguing about the terminology. And I agree that parental alienation is not a diagnosable pathology. What is child psychological abuse. Parental alienation is a layman's term, right? We understand it. And most of us parents who've been alienated, and even those of us adult children who've come into it, we're like, oh, sometimes that's what we find first. And it gives us a level of relief. It's like being ill and the doctor diagnoses you with something. You're like, phew, now I know what it is. And what do I do about it? And so, yes, from that perspective, the language is important. If you're in a custody battle, if you're in court, or you're with a mental health provider, going down the rabbit hole of trying to prove alienation, trying to get the mental health provider to understand parental alienation, you are in a losing battle. It's not a diagnosable pathology. And even in the courts that they agree with it and they try to use it, you're creating an appealable order for the opposing side. And we want to focus with the professionals on what it is called. Now here, we can talk about alienation. We can talk about what's happening to us as parents or children, right? We can talk about it as laymen, but in a professional environment, a professional setting, you need to make sure you're using the right terminology. If this is the first time you've heard me talk about that, or anybody, I highly recommend reading Dr. Childress's work. He very much understands the diagnosable pathology. Let me be clear that we don't know any mental health providers that are properly assessing and diagnosing the pathology. So it's really, really frustrating. And I get it. And even like Dr. Childress's work, right? He also knows that they're just not doing it properly. And but it'll help you understand what's happening from a clinical perspective. My role is clinical schminical. My role is to help you by empowering you with these skills and tools you need to recover your children. Because the truth is, they don't care about me. They don't care about Dr. Childress or the mental health provider, or the lawyer, or the judges, or all those people. They care about you. They care about you and their other parent. And they're choosing you because they love you. And they know that you're the healthier of the two parents and that you're going to go the distance. You're going to do the work. Now, that may not be all of you. You may not be ready. You may be stuck. A lot of people are stuck. Targeted parents get stuck in the victim mindset. The system, it's designed to hold you stuck so that you don't do the work. You don't do what needs to be done to recover your children. But all of you have the power to do that. All of you have within you, right? The skills, the know-how, the wherewithal, it's in you already. My job is putting together the framework for you. My job is to teach you. This is how you do it, right? You still have to do it. I'm just on the battlefield with you. So you still have to do it. Let me just scroll through these questions really quick. Paul, I've been stuck for over 10 years. Yeah. You know, we've had parents go through our work, coach with us, do some of our online coursework. We have classes for kids with parents with adult children, and they've recovered their children. So over 40 years of no contact, recovered their kids. So it's not uncommon that people have been stuck for a decade. A lot of that happens because of a lot of the misinformation that's out there, the conflicting information, a lot of people coming into the space as coaches and wanting to help you. And, you know, and some of them are good. Can't really speak for other people, can only speak for myself and my experience. I can speak for our products and programs, my personal experience as an alienated kid, my personal experience as a targeted parent and step parent, my ability to recover my entire family, reunite my siblings with our dad, their dad, and my dad, with preventing alienation from taking hold of my children, preventing one of my stepchildren, recovering one of them. So I know this family dynamic personally, lived it, and anything is possible. And it's never too late. It's never too late. Okay, you're awesome, Dorcy. You've helped so many people, including me. Thank you. I'm going to join you. I would like to learn. Awesome. We can't wait to have you in the class. Looking forward to seeing you there. You may even be one of the select participants. Oh, is this somebody? It just says Facebook participant on here. Let's see. I want to recover my child, and my ex is probably the dark triad, but I've made mistakes in handling his behavior. So common. If you are dealing with a dark triad, then most definitely reach out to us. We are very skilled in dealing with that level of pathology. And yeah, we know. And that is a really challenging pathology. That the dark triad is very sneaky, very, very Machiavellian, very good at deceiving everybody. And yeah, it's a really, really hard pathology, hard level of the pathology to deal with. So we understand. Okay, so I'm going to wrap it up here because I've been here for a while. It's so lovely to have you. Unfortunately, under these circumstances, but we are excited to be coming here and sharing this information with you. Again, if you are not on our YouTube channel, please check us out, and Parental Alienation on YouTube. We have a lot of free videos there. If you want additional support, if you're in the legal system and you're like, I really need some additional support, please reach out to somebody on my team. They're here in the chat, and connect with them and jump on a call. We're happy to talk to you about how we can help support you in your legal battle, working with you and your lawyer, and even mental health providers. So please reach out to us. Those of you that have already joined the class, thank you so much. I can't wait to see you next month in the live training where we do a deep dive, and I will handhold you through the communication to reunification process, and we'll have lots of fun goodies for you when you are in the live class. So thank you so much. Happy Friday. Have a wonderful weekend. Make sure you go out and take care of yourself. Do something fun and loving for yourself. And we'll see you next time. Remember, peace in so you can have peace out. Love you guys so much. See you next time. Have a great weekend. Bye for now.